Shadow Colour works inside your SketchUp model, allowing you to evaluate shadow impact, analyze sun exposure, and generate clear, color-coded study illustrations. We'll go through the main study types, key features, and typical workflows for creating comprehensive shadow and sun analysis. To learn more or download the add-in, visit our website linked in the description below. The first step is to set up the model and project location. I'll go to Window, Model Info, Geolocation, and set the location. I can enter it manually or select it from the map. Next, I'll switch to a top view. Under Camera, Standard Views, I'll select Top. I'll also set the camera to parallel projection. Next, I'll choose a visual style from the Styles tray. Then, I'll define the date, time, and time zone in the Shadows tray. I can also add a scale bar to the view. Under Entity Info, I'll adjust it so it does not cast or receive shadows. Shadow Colour works with groups and components. In this example, I have the city context, an approved development, and my proposed building. Groups and components can contain multiple elements and nested groups. After setting up the model, I will go to my toolbar and start Shadow Colour. On the first screen, I can see the different study types available. First is Shadow Study. With Shadow Study, I can assign colors to distinguish proposed shadows from the existing context, also known as net new shadows. I can also calculate shadow areas for specific regions and surfaces. Next is Sun Exposure. Here, I can analyze how long outdoor spaces receive direct sunlight and calculate sunlit exposure areas. Then we have Shadow Coverage. This mode calculates the area of visible shadows directly from the model, including complex site conditions such as slopes and topography. And finally, Shadow Duration. Here, I can measure how long a region remains in shadow from a specific building. Let's start by selecting Shadow Study. We'll start by linking elements from SketchUp into Shadow Colour and assigning colors to their shadows. I'll click Add Element, go back to SketchUp, and select a group or a component. The first element that I'm going to pick is the city context. The shadows of this layer will be on top. I can rename the layer, assign a shadow color, and adjust the opacity. I'll select a dark gray color. Now I'll add the remaining elements. This study contains 3 layers: the city context, the approved development, and the proposed building. Next, I'll click Preview Image to see the results. We can immediately see the colored shadows and the impact of the proposed development. Each layer also includes additional controls. I can reorder layers to control which shadows appear on top, disable or delete layers, and adjust the shadow colors. I can also create outlines for the shadows and assign colors for overlapping shadows. Under Appearance, I can control how each element is displayed. As View keeps the element appearance as defined in SketchUp. Receive No Shadows removes shadows cast onto the element, and Invisible hides the element while keeping its shadows visible. If we go back to SketchUp, we can see that my proposed building casts a shadow over the park at certain hours. I want to see the additional shadow on the park, give it a different color, and calculate the shadow's area. Back to Shadow Colour, I will click Add Region and pick the surface from SketchUp. I can rename the region and assign a different color to the shadows within that area. Now when I click Preview Image, I can see the shadow area calculations for each layer, along with the total region area. To export the shadow study images, I'll go to File, Export. Here, I can export a single image using the current sun settings from the view, or batch export multiple images for a single day or multiple days. For a single day export, I'll select the date, time range, and time interval. Next, I'll choose the image quality. I can also include additional export options, such as a superposition image with all the frames overlaid, video or GIF animations, and an area calculation report. I'll run the export. As you can see, all the images have been generated. The file names include the date and time of each frame. In the Excel, I can review the shadow area for each region and time frame. For a multi-day export, the workflow is very similar. I'll click Add Day, select the time range and interval, and add additional dates to the export. Now that we've covered shadow studies, let's look at sun exposure. First, I'll switch to sun exposure mode. I'll select a date, time range, and interval. On the time increments bar, I can move the hour markers, create new increments, delete them, and customize the colors. Next, I'll click Preview Image to see the results. To calculate the sunlit areas within a specific region, I'll click Add Region and select the surface from SketchUp. I can rename the region, disable it, or delete it. Now I'll click Preview Image, and the area calculations will appear alongside the analysis. To export the sun exposure analysis, I'll go to Export and select Sun Exposure. The export will include the analysis image, the area calculation report, and the legend bar. Next, let's look at shadow coverage. First, I'll set up the camera in SketchUp. Shadow coverage works in a parallel projection view. I'll adjust the camera to include the full shadow area I want to measure and make sure shadows are enabled. Next, I'll click Analyze View. Shadow Colour will process the model and generate the analysis. Once complete, a preview will be generated with a polygon. I can adjust the polygon using the control points to include the shadows I'd like to calculate. I can also create a new polygon using the pen tool. After drawing the polygon, I'll click the area calculation icon. The shadow area will be calculated and displayed in square meters and square feet, and the shadow will be color-coded. I can rename the polygon and assign a custom color. I can create additional polygons or remove them by selecting a polygon and pressing Delete. To export the study, I'll go to File, Export. Here, I can export a single image using the current sun settings from the view, or batch export multiple images for a single day. For this example, I'll export a single day. I'll select the date, time range, and time interval. Then choose the image quality. I can also include a video or GIF animation. Once the export is complete, All the images will be saved, along with the animation and the area calculation report in an Excel file. Next, let's look at shadow duration. First, I'll select the date, time range, and interval. On the time increments bar, I can create new increments, customize the colors, move the hour markers, or delete them. Next, I'll click Preview Image to see the results. As you can see, the analysis displays the shadow duration for the model visible in SketchUp. To run the analysis for a specific building, I'll click Add Element and select the building from the model. I can rename the element, disable it, or delete it. Now I'll click Preview again. The analysis now measures the additional shadow duration, also known as net new shadows, generated by the selected building. To export the analysis, I'll go to Export and select Shadow Duration. Before we wrap up, let's take a quick look at some additional settings and tools available in Shadow Colour. Under Settings, Preferences, I have access to additional graphic controls. Here, I can override the line width, turn area calculations on or off, control the shadow intensity. I can also show all visible elements in the view, bring outlines to the top, and select topography from my model to receive shadows. For sun exposure analysis, I can also control the color opacity. Another useful feature is the masking tool. Located next to the preview window, it allows me to draw polygons that hide areas from the preview and focus the analysis on specific regions. I can invert the masking selection and draw multiple masking polygons. The masking will also be applied during export. That covers the main workflows and analysis tools available in Shadow Colour. To learn more and download the add-in, visit our website linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.